Hello and welcome again to another section of the 41-mile St Aelred Pilgrim Trail in the North York Moors National Park. Today I'm in the hamlet of Old Byland to have a look at the ancient church of All Saints. And you'll come into Old Byland at the end of the fourth stage of the St Aelred Trail, having set off from another ancient church, that of All Saints in Hornby. Here at Old Byland, the church is accessed through this pathway behind me, which is on the east side of the village green. We come down between the houses, we will have this wonderful Grade 1 listed building. One of two Grade 1 churches on the trail, the other being our next stop at St Mary's in Scorton. The church is built of a limestone rubble with dressed quoins to add strength to the corners of the walls, and the roof is of Welsh slate. As William the Conqueror pursued his ferocious harrowing of the north in response to Anglo-Saxon resistance to his rule, the Domesday Survey of 1086 records only two surviving settlements in the whole of Upper Rydale, those of Helmsley and here at Old Byland, and states that there was a priest and a wooden church at Old Byland, so evidently an earlier stone building had either collapsed or been destroyed. Evidence that a rebuild took place around 1100 is indicated by some external and internal features. On the outside we have this winged horse and star motif on either side of the porch. Clear evidence of early Norman work, albeit these capitals have been relocated into this reworked porch. The winged horses are a design associated with St Oswald, the 7th century Anglo-Saxon king of Northumbria. The Normans having just overthrown the Anglo-Saxon monarchy, it's rather interesting to ponder whether their insertion into the tower porch was a little gesture of defiance by the villagers directed against their local Norman overlords. And if I can just walk round to the east side of the tower, then there on the wall, that's just there, you can see an ancient Saxon sundial embedded in the wall. It's a very rare example, but not often spotted. Evidence that there was an earlier church here before this Norman building can be found if we look at the church from the southeast corner. If you look at the east wall of the nave beyond the chancel, you can see embedded into the wall the old coping stones of an earlier and much lower roof line. And this, together with the arch over the now blocked off priest's door to the south side of the chancel, provides strong evidence of an earlier Saxon building. So let's come inside now. And what we have here is a two-bay nave and a single-bay chancel. It's quite clear that the nave walls are no longer exactly aligned with the chancel walls, as would have been the case with an original Saxon building. So it looks like a new south aisle wall was built outside of the line of the original, and similarly in the late 14th or early 15th century, possibly after the Battle of Old Byland in 1322, a new north wall chancel wall was built, again outside the line of the original. This human head with ram's horns, which you get on both sides of the chancel arch, is another indication of a building of the early 12th century. And as we move further into the sanctuary, we have these medieval floor tiles laid in a circular pattern, and round to our right a rough stone basin. Or is it possibly a font, I wonder? It has a lid on the top, but that is an 18th century addition, possibly from the tub font, which sits at the far west end of the church. So once we've marvelled at the many architectural features, especially outside, where does this space transport us as we sit quietly amongst these ancient stones? Well, the history and the stories bring the word displacement to the forefront of my mind. Much of this church was shaped by the harrowing of the North and later by the wars of Scottish independence. Even the Byland monks, with whom the ownership of the lands and village remained for most of the Middle Ages, were themselves a displaced religious order, having come originally from Cumbria, and in turn were displacers of others as they were given land along the road at Tylus, in the process driving out the small community who lived and worked there into Old Byland. I guess it's a reminder that displacement of people is nothing new. People then and now are on the move as a result of forces beyond their own control. But at heart, people want to belong and to connect, be it to an area, a social group, a community, whatever. Belonging is intrinsic to who we are. Here, whether we come alone or on a pilgrimage with others, we get the opportunity to reflect on the joy of community and friendship and the pain of separation and displacement, all in the knowledge that, should we choose to take it, God offers us his unconditional and everlasting friendship. Time to say goodbye to Old Byland, I'm afraid. There's so much to discover here, so if you've got the time, do venture out and come and find it for yourself. The next stage of the St Aelred Trail is just a short 2-mile walk to Scorton, and the other Grade 1 listed church on the trail, that of St Mary. And so I look forward to meeting you again there very soon. Bye for now.